Welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Aaron, this is ASGP. We're previewing the Belgian Grand Prix and we're going to be making some predictions for the Grand Prix, not the sprint. It is a sprint weekend this weekend in Spa, which should hopefully liven things up unless it pours with rain. And well, we know what happens when it rains at Spa. It really rains, and the flashbacks to 2021 have just intensified. Now, Red Bull are on a winning streak of 12 races, a record in Formula One history. Is it going to be unlucky 13? No, probably not, because the circuit just plays to all of their strength. I mean, they're going to be quick at basically every circuit. I think Budapest was one of the circuits that they were going to be sort of most vulnerable, perhaps, because it's a short circuit. You can get close and it's difficult to overtake. And also Monaco was a bit tricky for them. But I just don't see them being challenged at all this weekend in Spa. Maybe the rain will catch them out, perhaps. Who knows? I mean, Max Verstappen is just in unbelievable form. 7 wins in a row. It's disgustingly good. And it's going to take quite an event to knock him off his stride in that sense. But maybe a little bit of rain around Spa on a sprint weekend could do it. Now, a sprint weekend, the new format, has been used twice to varying degrees of success and differing opinions. I think the sprint still splits opinion on a lot of people who follow F1. It splits opinion amongst the drivers, I think, because I know Max Verstappen isn't too pleased about it. Lewis Hamilton doesn't mind it. So, I mean, there you go. Will it be wild? Will it be dull? I mean, the circuit plays itself to lots of overtaking. We saw that last year. The DRS could be quite strong. It's a little more difficult to follow this year, so overtaking could be a little bit trickier. But I think with the long straights, we should still be in for some, especially down to Les Combes, we should still be in position for some really good racing, hopefully. McLaren are going to be hoping to make it 3 podiums in a row. And this is something that they haven't achieved since 2012. Now, they might get a podium in the sprint. They might get a podium in the Grand Prix. Well, they don't really have podiums in the sprint. They might get a top 3 in the sprint. But they'll be looking to make another podium appearance with Lando Norris. And perhaps they're the team that can take it to Red Bull this weekend, because we saw in Silverstone that they were pretty strong. And they were strong again in Hungary. And there's a lot of characteristics from those 2 circuits that are in the Spa-Francorchamps layout. So we'll see how they go. As for the sprint itself, is it going to be good fun? Probably. It's going to be action-packed all weekend because there's just so much going on. It starts on Friday with qualifying, and you've got another qualifying Saturday morning, and then a sprint, and then you've got the Grand Prix on Sunday. And if you follow Formula 2 and Formula 3 like me, you've got all of that. You've got the Formula E finale. Oh, it's going to be a long weekend of racing. A lot of racing. But do you know what? I'm here for it. I love racing, so give it all to me. McLaren aiming for 3 podiums in a row, as I said, not happened since 2012, and that was when they won in Hungary, Belgium and Italy. And Lando Norris has been on a superb run of form since the car sort of hit form in Austria, and Oscar Piastri has been excellent in the last 2 rounds as well. So maybe there's going to be a little bit of a squabble there as to who gets on the podium behind the 2 Red Bulls, if that's how it works out. Another team I think is going to have a strong weekend is Williams. They did well in Spa last year. Their car this year is better. It's worked at a lot more circuits. So I can see them potentially ousting Aston Martin from the top 10 perhaps. And bear in mind, Aston Martin only scraped into the top 10 in 9th and 10th in Hungary. And if you've got 2 Williams cars in there, hopefully with Logan Sargent as well, and Alpine actually in the race this time, maybe Aston Martin are going to miss out on points altogether. So keep an eye on Aston Martin's progress throughout the weekend, because they seem to have stalled in their development this year. The early talk at the start of the season was whether they could catch Red Bull, because they had a quick car from the start and they had all the extra wind tunnel time. But actually, they appear to either be mismanaging it or just simply not making the most of it. A classic race in Belgium happened in 2008, and this is a result mired in controversy to this day. Lewis Hamilton in the McLaren started on pole position, but he spun from the lead on lap 2. He battled Kimi Raikkonen's Ferrari in the closing laps as rain began to fall. The Brit was forced to cut the final chicane, gaining the lead in doing so before handing it back and then he instantly snatched the position back into La Source. Now a wild lap followed as rain fell harder. Raikkonen spun off. Hamilton eventually took the checkered flag. But the future world champion would lose the victory, having been handed a post-race penalty, dropping him to third and giving the win to title rival Felipe Massa. My driver to watch this weekend is McLaren's Lando Norris. He's got 2 podiums in the last 2 races, a career best, and 3 top 5 finishes in a row. He's, outside of Verstappen, the man in form. He's probably driving with as much confidence, if not more confidence, than we've ever seen him with in Formula One. McLaren was strong around Silverstone. They were strong in Hungary as well. And Spa has a lot of characteristics. You've got to be slippery. You've got to be able to carry speed through the corners. You've got to use the tyres well and look after them as, in the same respect. And he's shown some speed around the legendary circuit, but it just hasn't worked out for him in terms of results. So keep an eye on Lando Norris. As ever, there's some championship battles to watch this weekend in Formula One, and I've picked a couple that I think we should keep an eye out on. Sergio Perez has moved ahead of Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso, well, further ahead in their battle. Between the 2 old rivals, though, it's a 6-point difference for the 2 former McLaren teammates. Hamilton is in decent form. Alonso and Aston are stalling in their season progress. And that could turn around very quickly. And I think Alonso would not like it if Hamilton finished ahead of him this season. And then my other one to look out for is McLaren. And it's very simple. How big a chunk will they take out of Aston Martin and Ferrari ahead of them in the Constructors' Championship? Over the last 3 rounds, Aston Martin have scored 21 points. Ferrari, 39 points. And 70 points have gone the way of McLaren. That's not including the sprint in Austria, by the way. That's the last 3 races. So look out for McLaren and the big damage that they could do with Piastri and Norris to Aston Martin and Ferrari ahead of them. So let's round the show off with some predictions. And it's going to be a bit boring because Verstappen's going to get pole and he's going to win the race again. Although I predicted him for pole last week, and Lewis Hamilton did the business on Saturday, which was very, very fulfilling and exciting for me because I watched it back delayed and I didn't know the result and it was just pure joy. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get something like that this weekend. Maybe Lando Norris springs a surprise. We'll see. But Friday we'll find out who is on pole position. And I think Sergio Perez is going to finish second. He's going to go one better than he did in Budapest. But again, his qualifying was rubbish. But that's not going to really matter around Spa because he'll be able to overtake with ease. And then I'm kind of split on my 3rd spot on the podium. I think it's going to be a British driver on the podium, and there's 3 to choose from. It's going to either be Lando Norris or Lewis Hamilton. I've been trying to work out whether the Mercedes will actually be good around Spa. It seems to like medium speed and low speed corners. I don't know how good it's going to be on the straights. They might take the wing off. I don't know. So they could be dead slow on the straights. But the middle sector has some medium speed corners. The Fagnes chicane, Rivage, which is the downhill right-hander, Stavelo, the first part of it, should be quick through La Source and the bus stop chicane. But then it's like Eau Rouge and Pouhon are going to really hurt the Mercedes. Les Combes should be all right for the Mercedes, but I think if I had to pick one, I think the McLaren is just a slightly better package across a broader spectrum of corner speeds and straight line speed as well. So I'm going to plump for Lando Norris, but don't be surprised if Lewis Hamilton ends up on the podium once again around Spa. So that's what I think is going to happen this weekend at Spa-Francorchamps. It's going to be a wild weekend of action. So many things going on, all these sessions. Only one practice session on Friday morning. Who's going to get it right? And what if Red Bull got it completely wrong and they ended up last on the grid? I mean, that's not going to happen. But anything can happen in Formula One. It usually does. And if you like the video, if you like F1, like the video, and share it with other people who also like F1 or might be interested in this video. Subscribe for more Grand Prix content. Thanks very much for watching.